Hey guys, hey, this is Anne Marie. This is the Anti-HR channel, and on this channel we talk about HR. We talk about all the ways in which employees need to understand their workplace rights so that they know how to deal with HR and how to recognize discrimination in their work environments. And I am coming to you while I am gallivanting on the other side of the world. Right now I am hosting a small group of Black women on a girls' trip in Europe, and we are having a ball. One of the ladies actually found me on this channel, so I'm really thrilled that someone that found me on my HR channel was influenced to then follow me on my travel channel and join one of my girls' trips, and she's having the time of her life. And this is her first time in Europe. So that makes me really happy because I do my girls' trips because I want Black women, especially Black women over the age of 40 plus, to know that travel is for them as well and that they should go anywhere they want to go, whether solo or with a group, but they should explore the world. So that has made me very, very happy. But that's not what this video is about. I've been thinking a lot about the ways in which power operates in workplaces, and that so many of us do not grasp that as employees, the cards are stacked against you when you raise concerns at work. And if you do not have the facts on your side, the documentation on your side, you will not succeed because the system is designed to protect those who already have power. And I think that is very clear as we continue to watch, the Sean Combs trial unfold. We listen to people testify. I was amused but not surprised to find out that Bad Boy Enterprises had an HR department, right? They in fact had an HR department. People were going to HR with concerns, and yet all the things that are being alleged were happening. Employees of the company are alleging SA. They are alleging all kinds of workplace violence. Workplace violations. People are also workplace violence. People are alleging overtime not being paid. One of his former assistants is saying that she was owed hours and hours of overtime, and that when she presented the documentation to him of the hours owed, and HR had actually agreed with her that this time was owed, he tore it up and never paid it. I believe he later has paid her in a settlement, but it's not clear whether the settlement is for the hours owed, right? So it's very important to really understand fundamentally that even in organizations that have HR departments, the powerful people get protected. And I'm going to tell you a little story. This is a story time. I'm going to tell you a little story about how that was illustrated in a workplace where I worked. So I worked at this organization. It is very well known. It still exists. It's at least 50 years old, if not older. And it's a membership organization. And this is an organization that had millions and millions of dollars in assets. Members were paying membership dues. And, they had other business interests that they made money from in addition to the membership dues, right? They had, figured out lots of different streams of revenue, and they were making a lot of money. And the person who was one of the people at the time when I worked there was one individual who was the architect of helping them branch out and find other streams of revenue so that they did not have to rely on their membership dues. And by the time I came to work there, their membership dues made up a very small percentage of their revenue. So even though, let's say, they were maybe bringing in $10 million a year, maybe the revenue from the membership dues maybe 2 million, right? And that's just illustrative. But this person had figured out a ways to help them create products, help them create other streams of revenue that they didn't have to be so reliant on membership dues, while lots of other organizations were, really dying on the vine because members were paying less and less in dues as dues increased each year with inflation. But, the person who was the mastermind of this was a textbook bully, right? And the word on the street when I was working there was that this person was constantly intimidating and bullying people in the workplace, especially women, right? And that many, many people, there was a revolving door. People would come, people would go, and people would be paid settlements to leave the organization when they brought concerns about how they were being treated in the workplace. And the organization would pay those settlements quietly. But the one thing that never happened was this person was never suspended. This person was never fired. This person retired eventually from this organization, right? But they never did anything to discipline this person. They never did anything to cause this person to stop doing what they were doing. I was lucky to have only peripheral interaction with this person. So I didn't work in his department, and it was a man, a white male. I never worked in his department. I never had anything to do with day-to-day dealing with him. I interacted with him in meetings and so on. And frankly, he was quite pleasant in his interactions with me. But I heard through the grapevine about how he treated people who worked in his department, particularly women, but not just women. He was a garden variety bully. Kind of, it sounds like what Sean Combs was like. If you're paying attention to this trial, this man was pretty much horrible to everybody that worked for him, right? I mean, he engaged in, abuse of every variety with women particularly, but clearly was abusive to everyone. They said he was abusive to security guards, his chef, his personal assistants, lots of different people. Because as I've said, there is an impact on people who have to witness abuse as well as the people who experience the abuse. Because when you have to witness people being abused, and I say this from experience as well, and you feel powerless to do anything about it, that has a psychological impact on you as well. And also you kind of feel like eventually this is going to happen to me too. So while it doesn't happen to you right then, you're watching it happen to someone else and trying to figure out what, if anything, you can do about it. And that has a deep psychological impact, especially if you're a child or a minor and this happens to you, right? But even as an adult, being at work and in other environments where you see people being abused and you don't feel like you can do anything about it is very, very, very detrimental to a person's mental health. So it's not just impacting the person who's being abused. It also impacts all the people around who are having to witness it and have to make a decision about whether they're going to stay, they're going to leave. People testified and said that they decided to leave when they witnessed abuse because they did not want to be a part of it and they felt like the only thing that they could do was leave. Then there are other people who left and gave reasons for staying. Some of the reasons didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm no psychologist. But people stayed, people left, but you hear that over and over again, and it's not unusual, right? So it's very important to understand that even in organizations, big organizations, multi-million-dollar organizations, small organizations, there often are people who are in positions of power, and especially when there are people who are bringing in a lot of money. As I explained in this story, this person was responsible for a department that helped this organization diversify their revenue, find lots and multiple streams of income. One product that this person helped create is a product that is still used. If I mentioned what it was, everyone would know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to do that. Because I'm not naming the organization and I'm not making an effort for people to be able to identify the organization. But what I'm saying is he came up with things that really helped this organization make a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars. So the reality was that even though they were very well aware of his bad behavior, no one was going to do anything about it. And so this person got to continue working there until they retired, while other people had to leave because they could not deal with this person's abusive behavior. So it's no surprise that Bad Boy Entertainment, for example, had an HR department. The HR department, it appears, was very well aware of how abusive and problematic the founder of the organization was. But this person is also their employer as well. So they're not going to confront him and say, you need to follow the law and pay this person overtime. You need to stop beating your girlfriend in conference room in front of other people. You think the people in HR didn't know that this was going on? I find it very questionable to believe that they didn't know. I would really love for them to call somebody from HR to the stand, right? Because I would really like to understand what they knew and didn't know, right? What did they know and when did they know it, right? But the reality is that if people were aware, and we don't know whether they were or not, but if people, they were aware of something, because at least one person I can think of, Capricorn Clark, I believe her name is, said she went to HR and at least raised concerns about the overtime, as well as she brought to the attention of the person who was the president and CEO about some concerns that she had about things that she had seen, and she said nothing was done about it. So at a minimum, HR knew something wasn't right, and they didn't do anything about it, right? So the reality is that even when an employee goes to human resources and raises concerns, there is not necessarily anything going to be done if the company decides that the person against whom the concerns are being raised is more important than the employee. And so when somebody is considered to be more valuable in the organization where I worked, this person that I'm mentioning was considered to be very, very valuable because they were the brains behind helping to create products that brought the company a lot of money. They were willing to sacrifice people. They were willing to just pay somebody some money for them to leave and not sue and not talk about these incidents in the future. They didn't mind. I had heard a story of one of the employees who happened to be the daughter of a very well-known person, and a person who actually had influence in the organization, right, as a member. And yet, that person was paid a settlement and no disciplinary action was taken against this other person because, again, the organization decided that he was more valuable, right? And so they paid this person a settlement, pat him on the ass, and sent him on their way. And he got to stay and continue working in the organization until he decided to retire. And this is what power does. This is how power operates. And it's really important to have a realistic understanding about how these things occur. Now, what do you do about it? Well, if you're in a situation like that, the best thing to do is to document carefully, present your issues, get an attorney if necessary, and get a payout and get the hell out, right? And so a lot of the people who have testified, that was my only question, like, what took these people so long to lawyer up? That's what I have a question about. And how many people did lawyer up and leave that we don't know about? Because I'm sure those people exist as well, right? Because you can't make an organization be better than it wants to be. I'm going to say that again. No single employee can make an organization be better than it wants to be. You can sue, you can make them pay you, but you cannot make them be a better organization than they want to be until they decide that they want to be, right? And so in a situation like the one that I described, in a situation like the one that we are all witnessing with Sean Combs and his company, because this isn't just about the behavior of an individual, it's about the behavior of the company that he created that allowed him to use company funds to do things he shouldn't have been doing, allowed him to mistreat employees and did nothing about it. You have to understand that as an employee, you're not going to be protected. So you have to protect yourself. And how you do that is to carefully document the incidents, the what, the why, document those things carefully, and then either present your concerns yourself as an employee and ask for an exit and have them pay you, or get legal representation if they wrongfully terminate you or they refuse to take you seriously when you ask for what you want, and then ask again. Now you remember, Cassie, in her testimony, said she made Mr. Combs aware that she was intending to write a book. At that time, he could have made an offer to pay her. He did not. She decided to get an attorney and file a lawsuit. As soon as that suit hit the courts, he settled within 24 hours. But that complaint that was the basis of her lawsuit is what has culminated in a human trafficking RICO case against him that could land him in jail for the rest of his life. If he had taken her overtures seriously when she told him that she had been in therapy and decided to confront the things that he had done to her, allegedly, none of us would know anything about this if he had paid her. And many, many companies are smarter than he was. And if presented with the opportunity to pay, they would. But they aren't going to pay you if you don't ask them to. So don't be one of these people who think you're going to stay and fight. You're going to make them be better. You're going to do all of these things. If you are in a situation where you feel you're being abused, you feel you're being treated in a manner that is illegal, it is on you to carefully document the situation and then ask to be paid to leave. But do not think that you can make them be better people, be a better company, or any of those things, because they don't want to be. When people are wrongdoers in companies, 9 times out of 10, HR knows. Management is aware. And they make a calculated decision not to do anything because they decide that the person who is doing the wrong thing or engaged in the wrongful behavior is more important than the person who's bringing a complaint. There's a power differential, and they decide that the person who has the power is the person who is more valuable to them because the person is bringing them more money, or the person is the founder, or any number of the person is the son of the founder, the cousin of the founder, the friend of the founder. Any number of reasons could be the reason they decide they don't care about nothing the employee has to say, right? And a lot of them won't do the right thing until they are embarrassed, until there's a lawsuit, but a lot of them will pay you if you simply ask them to. So what I'm saying is, don't wait for the company to do the right thing. You make them do the right thing. Companies are generally not going to pay employees unless the employee asks to be paid. Now, sometimes they will. Sometimes they're smart enough to recognize we're in a liability position. Let's offer this person some money. And if they offer you money, you should counter. But that's a conversation for another video, right? And I've talked about the importance of countering when you were offered money by your employer. But the thing is, even if they don't offer you money, you should ask for it if you believe that you have been treated in a way that is wrongful and illegal. Don't wait for them to offer it to you, because as I said, you're not the valuable person in a lot of times to them. The other person is. And so they are going to treat the other person differently, and they're going to protect that person. Even when they know that person has done wrong, they're going to protect them. So I hope this short story and the explanation I've provided is useful and helpful. Let me know in the comments if this is something that resonates, if this is something that you have seen in your workplace, if this is something that you have experienced. But if you feel that you're in a situation where you are being bullied, you are being mistreated, you are being discriminated against because of a protected characteristic or a combination of those things, it is very important for you to carefully document and create a strategy to leave and make them pay you if they are breaking the law. But do not expect them to just do the right thing. Do not think that just because you go and say this person is doing this stuff to me, they're going to do something about it. Because 9 times out of 10, they know. And they make a decision not to do anything because they have decided that that person is more important than the employees, because that person is better for their bottom line than the employee is. So keep that in mind. Don't assume that they don't know that somebody is engaging in wrongful behavior. Because as we are learning, once again, employers know when people behave badly and they choose not to do anything. But that shouldn't stop you from doing something for yourself. I hope this video was helpful. I hope this message was helpful. If it was, please stop. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share this information with a friend, and please comment, but do so constructively. I am as always, I'm Anne Marie. I'm the Anti-HR HR lady. This is the Anti-HR channel. HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend. But I am. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.